So Fight or Flight is a high energy and ridiculous action comedy movie that has got some cool moments in there for sure, but it just unfortunately comes across as a bit of a poor man's version of Bullet Train, except this time just being set on a plane. Now, where Bullet Train was really slick and had a lot of witty dialogue and some really wicked moments as well, by contrast, Fight or Flight just comes across as incredibly derivative and in turn just being really forgettable. Now, we really are in the Josh Hartnett resurgence era right now, and he does do a good job in terms of carrying this film. Now, whilst his backstory is definitely really cumbersome, you can kind of see where this character is coming from in terms of volunteering for this Suicide Squad-esque type mission to try and get his freedom back, along with the premise of him wanting to discover which character on this plane is the ghost, and once he solves this, to keep them alive and bring them back to the US government, whereas everybody else on the plane is basically a mercenary and they want to get the bounty from killing this ghost character. But outside of that, unfortunately, this movie just didn't work because none of the other characters or any of the other fight sequences were memorable or cool like you definitely do see in so many other action movies. I mean, there's one character that they're kind of building up to be this ultimate boss type character when Josh Hartnett eventually fights them. But even then, they just killed this character off in such a lame way, which I feel like is pretty figurative for this entire movie, as they've got such brilliant ideas that could have been really cool, but the way in which they executed them, they just made it not work in the way that it could have and really should have done. Especially when the setting of being on this big flight could have been really interesting. First of all, there's two different levels. Of course, you get to see what all of the first class passengers, what is their rich type experience like, what is the operations of a plane like that you don't really see when you're a passenger, the confinement of being on a plane, the fact that you're in air. I mean, some of those things are done in a decent way, but they could have amplified it so much more. And actually, it's just such a shame that they didn't realize that, and they definitely could have just made so many of the other characters really cool. Now, I guess the obvious comparison to Bullet Train is that, you know, on Bullet Train they had so many big stars in there, and so it's unfair to compare that to Fight or Flight, where they've only really got Josh Hartnett. But the MCU has shown that sometimes, even if there are new players that they are introducing to the masses, if they're just written and created in a compelling way, then they don't need to be A-listers. So it's just such a shame that this movie just couldn't do more with all of the other brilliant potential group of characters. And over the last decade, I feel like action movies have just really shown that they can be really creative, really innovative, whilst also having a really compelling and interesting backstory. And unfortunately, Fight or Flight just didn't do enough to really stand out from the crowd and be really memorable. And I also feel like Beekeeper with Jason Statham was actually so much better because it had interesting characters, it had really innovative sequences with so many characters, and also just the plot of trying to get back at scammers, I feel like was just done so much better over there. And also with Nobody, where it basically was all around one character, that was also done so much better. So whilst I wanted to like Fight or Flight, I just think I just missed so many opportunities to be really brilliant, and so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give Fight or Flight a 4 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear from you. What did you think of Fight or Flight? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.